Lie on your mat with a soft ball to hand. You can bend the knees or leave them long and just gently let the hands rest on the belly. Feel the breath in the belly as you breathe. Notice its pace, its quality, where in the belly it moves. And any sensations with that breath. Any pace or changes, its sense of ease or fullness. Soften into the breath. If it feels comfortable, maybe start to move the arms, reaching them up overhead and around the side, drawing circles, releasing the shoulders and the neck, making it whatever size and speed feels comfortable. For your shoulder girdle, notice the heaviness of your arm bones into the shoulders. As you move the arms, keeping the collarbones wide, like they're smiling to the sky. The arms are energetic and soft. And then release the hands, and if it feels comfortable, just gently allow the pelvis to roll on the floor. Feeling the back of the bowl shape rolling side to side, stretching through the low back, and just keeping the feet on the floor and the shoulders heavy. And then coming back to the breathing and the hands on the belly. Checking with that breath. Notice any changes from that first scan. If the breath is any deeper or shallower. If it's in a different part of the torso. And begin to take a scan of your body for any sensations. Moving rapidly through the body. From the feet and the ankles. Calves, knees, thighs, pelvis, low belly, upper belly, chest, the shoulders, upper arms, the forearms, wrists, the hands, the neck, back of the head, and the face. Feel the heaviness of the body on the floor. points where your body is touching onto the ground. The weight of the back of the head, shoulders, pelvis, and feet. Notice the breath in the belly. And very slowly from an exhale, start to allow the knees to gently move to one side, as though the exhale initiates a little bit of a movement. Keep the feet on the floor and allow the knees just to move 5 or 6 inches. You can let the hands relax on the sides of the floor or your hips, or keep them on your belly. And moving with the exhale, leading. So allow a third of your exhale before you move, or a third of an inhale before you move. Keep the shoulders heavy, feel their connection on the ground. The head and neck easy and soft into the ground. And just notice the tail tilting when you come back to center and releasing. Testing the movement of the low back. Using the abdominals to lengthen the low back into the floor. And maybe as you do this, starting to increase that movement, letting the pubic bone start to lift a little higher. Adjusting the feet if needed as you just use the abdominals to peel your pelvis slowly off the floor, one vertebra at a time. Keeping the feet connected and the shoulders connected. Just really using the abdominals and then starting to wake up into the glutes. Rolling up one vertebra at a time. Maybe coming down and then coming up a little further with each roll. Easing, gentle, smooth flow through each vertebra of the spine until you come to a bridge position. Maybe stretching the arms to the cheeks and rolling back down to intensify the stretch. But you can leave the hands down on the floor if it's not comfortable for the shoulders. Or maybe just moving those arms again, reaching them up and overhead a few times. And then working with the rolling up as you reach the arms towards the cheeks. Holding the arms by the cheeks as you roll down to open through the side waist. You can move the arms with the hip rolls. Or you can leave the arms by the ears or by the sides. Your focus is to really mobilize through the spine, one vertebra at a time, like it's a diamond necklace, each vertebra stopping for an inspection of its quality at a time. Use the abdominals on the way up and the glutes as much as you can on the way down. Allowing that gentle squeeze on the ball to help activate the inner thighs. And then maybe test your stability by peeling one foot to the ball of foot or the whole foot off the floor. Not letting the hips sway or drop. Allow the hands to rest by the sides or reach to the sky. to help keep the shoulders stable as you alternate lifting the feet one by one. And then release the back to the floor. Rolling back up to that bridge position. Squeeze the ball and just practice those alternating heel or foot lifts one at a time, making sure the pubic bone is shooting between the ball and the knees and that the ribs are soft and connected on the front body, making sure you're still in a neutral spine. Release the spine to the floor and let the arms relax down by your sides. Take the ball and place it underneath one foot. And then coming back to a neutral pelvis, just let the ball roll in and out. The more pressure you place on the ball, the more you're going to test the activation of the hips and the muscles in the legs. Trying to keep that knee straight towards the sky like it's on train tracks. Bend the foot and the knee back in. Place the foot on the arch and apex of the ball, and then little hip hovers, lifting the hips up in neutral. Just testing the stability of that leg and hip as you just hover those hips, pressing one foot into the ball and the other foot still on the ground. Try to keep the pelvis as neutral as you can. And then we'll change the ball over to the other side, taking those leg slides in and out on the other leg. The more pressure you add, the more challenging it's going to be to stabilize those hip muscles. Noticing any tendencies to change the pelvis position or challenges in the ankle or the knee. Bend the foot back in and come back to the hip hovers, pressing the foot down onto the apex of the ball and keeping those hips as level as possible as you just gently hover them up and then back down. Keep the ribs nice and connected on the front body and the shoulders soft. And releasing the ball and taking it behind the back of the knee joint. We're squeezing the ball between the calf and the hamstrings. You can reach the arms up towards the sky and you can keep the opposite leg bent or straight. Keep the hips nice and grounded in that neutral position and then start to circle the thigh in the hip like you're stirring sugar in a cup of tea. Keep squeezing the ball behind the knee joint and then reverse the circles the other way. And use the heaviness of the pelvis to keep it nice and square like you're balancing a tea set on your pelvis and it's not going to roll away. You can keep the hands on the floor if it feels unstable or even holding onto your pelvis to check it that it's nice and stable. Hug the knee into the chest, still squeezing the ball to release the front of that hip socket further. Removing any tension into the front of the hip crease. Feel the thigh soften into the belly. And you can press into the shin, creating some resistance. Hand into shin, shin into hand, and then as you exhale, see if you can soften it any further. Changing to the other leg, taking the ball behind the knee on the other side. You can keep the knee bent or straight of the supporting side, and hands can be down by your side or on your pelvis or reaching to the sky as you circle that leg on the other side. Find a nice supportive breath to help keep the pelvis still as though you're holding that cup and saucer on the pelvis, and then stirring that thigh bone as it squeezes the ball behind the kneecap. Reverse the circles the other way, really allowing yourself to mobilize into that hip socket, but without any clunking or clicking as you do so. And then we come to hugging the knee into the chest with that ball behind the knee. And if you want to add in a little bit of a press of the shin into the hands and the hands into the shin to help release the front of that hip a little further, you can do so, making sure that as you exhale, you really soften the thigh into the belly to try and release it further. Going to roll over onto one side, keeping the ball in between our knees. Taking one hand underneath the head, or you can use a cushion or a block to support the head. Reaching the other arm out and in front. Find your natural curves of your waist. Reach the top arm up towards the sky, keeping it soft in the shoulder joint. And as you exhale, open the breastbone towards the sky, coming into a twist of the upper spine. Inhale, hold still. And as you exhale, using the abdominals, you're going to reset, coming back to that start position. Make sure that the shoulder is nice and away from the ear, and that the arm feels like it's drawing into the shoulder socket as you twist. So the twist is really in the spine, the neck is relaxed, and the shoulder feels open and expansive. Keep squeezing the ball between the knees so that the hips stay nice and square towards the front. And find a softness and a really full exhale as you twist to really allow the ribs to stay connected and support the back with a neutral spine, just allowing that rotation into the upper back. Changing to the other side, rolling around onto the other shoulder. Make sure that the hips and the shoulders are nice and stacked and that you've got support for your head so that the neck is comfortable. Reach the arm up to the sky, make sure it's soft and heavy into the shoulder joint before you exhale, and open that chest towards the sky. Keep squeezing the ball between the knees so that the hips are nice and square. And you can feel that inner thigh connection activating the pelvic floor, giving you that low back support from the deep abdominal muscles. Use the exhale to rotate you back around to the start position and make sure that you really get the natural curves of the waist. Opening up on an exhale to allow the chest and the ribs to soften and connect, keeping that oblique engagement to support the whole of the spine and really increase that twist from the abdominals, not just from torquing in the spine. As you're doing it, make sure that that free top arm is nice and heavy in the shoulder socket, almost reaching a little towards the hips and forwards of the chest, so that it's in a nice comfy round space and there's no tightening or pinching in the back of the shoulder. And then come back around to the start, and we're going to roll it over onto your stomach, taking the ball into your hands and reaching your arms out ahead of you, overhead. Legs can be comfortable in a neutral position. And then letting the hands rest on the top of the ball, start to squeeze the shoulder blades down the spine towards your hips, and then let the shoulder blades reach up. Just moving the shoulder blades to start with, keeping the collarbones nice and wide. And then if that feels comfortable for the shoulders, you can build on a little back bend or stay with the shoulder movement. As the shoulder blades move down, you start to lift the chest up, coming into a small back bend into the upper spine. Keep thinking about the ribs being connected and the abdominals lifted away from the floor to protect the spine. Feel the 3 points of the pelvis pressing down onto the mat in your neutral spine. Let the eye line stay looking down at the mat as you draw the shoulders down. Find a little squeeze around that shoulder blade area, as though the shoulder blades are Ving down in behind your heart to create the back bend. You can add in some gentle arm reaches if it feels comfortable for your back bend to challenge it and deepen it a little further. Releasing the back bend, you're going to take the ball down behind your back now, holding it between your hands above your hips. You roll the shoulder blades back, squeezing the back of the armpits, and then gently lift the head and shoulders and reach the hands towards the feet, really squeezing into the retractors, creating a back bend by trying to really squeeze the shoulder blades together. Each time you exhale and lift, keep pulling the belly up and into the spine, protecting the back, and feel the shoulder blades rolling and squeezing together as you try and squeeze the ball and reach it towards your feet. This is an intense exercise for the shoulders. It really helps us strengthen and work the retractors into the shoulders to help us draw the shoulders down away from the ears as well. It's great anti-desk posture. Try not to let the ball hover and collapse onto the hips. And then gently push your bottom back onto your heels and come into a child's pose or a shell stretch. You can use the ball on the thighs to increase the rounding of the spine if you'd like. Take a nice few deep breaths there, really softening into the shoulders and the upper back. Relax the elbows, the neck, and on an exhale, re-stack up the spine. We're going to come around lying on our backs again, but this time we're going to take the ball and place it underneath the shoulder blade tips. So the apex of the ball wants to be underneath the tips of the shoulder blades. So you can allow the shoulder blades to roll over and down. You may need to place a block or something or a cushion underneath the head if it's uncomfortable for the neck. Allow the hips to be heavy and softness across the front of the pelvis. And then if you'd like, you can add in drawing the arms up and down the sides, making little angel wings with the arms, provided it's comfortable for the neck and shoulder area. Alternatively, just lie and breathe in this back bend and stretch, opening the chest. Release the hands to the side, and if you can, turn the palms facing upwards. And the more out to the side it is, the more intense this is going to be for the shoulder area. And then just allow the breath to roll the shoulders side to side, letting the head go as you massage between the shoulder blade area with the ball. Feel the space and the softening with the breath. Coming back to the breath from the beginning of the practice. That same easy breath like you're lying on your back with your hands on your belly. Soft and easy. And then maybe taking the hands behind the head. Find a little head nod as though you're holding an apple between chin and chest. Draw the elbows in to frame your face so that they're in your peripheral vision, and draw them down and away from your ears. And on an exhale, draw the ribs towards the hips and start to lift the head and shoulders up. And then inhaling, releasing back and over the ball. Making sure that the sit bones stay nice and heavy. Feeling your tail rooting down into the floor so that there is space between the low back and the ground. We're at a neutral pelvis even though the body is at an angle to the floor. Be very careful of the neck and really let that exhale lead the movement, softening and drawing the ribs down, but making sure that that head is tucked in before you lift anything. Keep the peripheral vision of the elbows and the shoulders are soft and easy. The softer you can keep the shoulders and the neck, the more the focus can be into the abdominal area. If this feels strong, you can start to add in lifting one leg up towards a tabletop position at a time as the head and shoulders lift up, challenging the stabilization of the pelvis and any desire to wobble left to right. Really focus on the pelvis and the sit bones being equal weight as you lift them up left to right. Noticing any rolling side to side. Try and keep an even weight in the sit bones. For additional challenge, we're going to add in twisting as the knee lifts up. So as you exhale, lift up, you twist opposite elbow to opposite knee, allowing the shoulders to rotate on the ball. Allowing a sense of rolling into the ball can help increase the twist. Feeling a sense of lifting up and off the ball will increase the abdominal challenge of the movement. Watch that the hips don't start to rock and roll as you take this variation. Increasing the twist will increase the challenge to keep the pelvis in that neutral and not let it roll side to side. Release the back, and you can either come back to the back bend, letting the back relax over the ball, or you can come off the ball, rolling over to one side, and just come back to your neutral spine and that breath from the beginning of the practice. Notice any changes in your breathing, and perhaps take that body scan, feeling the sensations as they may have shifted or changed. As you scan the body and notice the sensations, bear in mind that you can take a rest at this point and not take the workout any further. If you feel energized, we're going to take the ball and place it underneath the pelvis. So press into the feet to lift the hips up to the sky and place the ball underneath the sacrum, letting it settle heavy onto the ball. Lift the feet up into tabletop. A little connection between the ribs and the hips using the obliques, like you're squeezing the front abs together. And then just let the ball roll side to side underneath the hips, testing your ability to roll the ball using just the abdominal muscles. Keep that feeling of the connection between the muscles of the ribs and the hips, and seeing how strong that feels left to right. And then we're going to come back to having the hips in the center and just start to try some toe taps on the ball. There's no attempt to take the toes to the floor. The attempt is just to draw that thigh a little away from the pelvis without moving the other leg, and without losing the connection of the muscles between the ribs and the hips, so perhaps a slight imprint. The other important aspect is to keep the shoulders and neck easy and relaxed. You may find reaching the arms towards the sky, crossing the hands over shoulders, or taking cactus arms might help relax the neck and the shoulders as you challenge the abdominals. Feel those shoulders and neck heavy, and then perhaps you might start trying to extend one leg away from the torso, taking it into a single leg stretch movement. Be mindful of the belly and not letting it arch or start to pop towards the sky. Keep drawing the ribs and hips together. Really feel the connection of the obliques, keeping that spine a little long and the belly drawn into the spine. If it feels too much for the neck, shoulders, or back, feel free to come out of this at any time. Bringing the legs back together in tabletop, we're going to glue the inner thighs together and the ankles, and then extend both legs on an exhale towards the ceiling or diagonal. As you extend the legs, keep drawing the belly down and in, really challenging the abdominals as you exhale and extend. Keep the shoulders nice and grounded. Notice any tension in the neck or shoulders or jaw. And if it's starting to build any tension, you're going too far, come out of the exercise. This should feel easy and intense only in the abdominals. Then extend both legs to the sky, separate the legs and windmill them in opposite directions, just testing your stability on the ball as you windmill the legs without letting the pelvis rock and roll. And then hug one knee into the chest. Dig the other leg straight with the heel into the floor. Really connect the foot down into the floor as you hug the knee into the chest. softening in the front of the hip crease, but stretching and actively opening the front of the other hip. And then extend the bent knee, coming into a hamstring stretch. If you've got tight hamstrings, come off the ball and come to lying on your back to take your hamstring stretch. Try and extend the knee as you take the hamstring stretch. The more you can draw up in the kneecap, the more you're actually extending into that hamstring. So if you need to use a kind of strap or a rope or dressing gown cord to hold onto your foot, do so in order to keep a neutral pelvis and extend the leg. Changing legs to the other side, finding that psoas release. And then extend the leg up towards the ceiling, coming into that hamstring stretch. Using any rope or strap to help you find your neutral pelvis and really open into the back of that knee by drawing up in the kneecap and feel the back of that thigh lengthen. Keep the shoulders relaxed if you can and nice and heavy. And soften in the shoulders. Find that same steady breath from the beginning of the practice. And then we're going to release the leg and come off the ball. Place the feet on the floor, lift the hips up into a bridge, remove the ball and just take a moment to feel the space across the back of the sacrum after those exercises, having massaged into the back of the pelvis. We're then going to come up to seated position, taking a mermaid stretch. So either having one leg at 90 degrees and the other out by the hip. You can also sit cross-legged or sit up on a block, making sure you're just comfortable. The hand is going to be on the ball just in front of the hip towards the knee. And as you just gently side bend up and over, try not to put too much weight into the ball as you take your side bends. So you want to feel the abdominals and the side waist working as you're reaching up and over, as though you could almost lift that arm off the ball. Really open up through the side waist and try and feel heaviness in the hips as you do this. And then staying out on the ball, you're going to just bend the elbow in and out if the side waist feels stable. Make sure that the chest is nice and square, so opening that top armpit up towards the sky. As you bend and straighten in the underneath elbow, keep that side waist nice and long. Next time we roll out into that side bend, we're going to turn the chest towards the ball, place top hand on top of the ball, and just take a couple of rolls in and out, finding a cat stretch in this mermaid position to really open and stretch into the shoulder area and upper back. Really enjoy rolling in and out, finding that cat stretch, using the abdominals to flex the spine, and then open back into the side bend and come back up to seated. Changing onto the other side, finding your comfortable seat for your side bends, bringing that hand forwards of the shoulder towards the knee, and then starting to take those side bends. As you take the side bends, be very aware of keeping that hand in front of the shoulder slightly, so that you can really support and find comfort and ease across the shoulder girdle. And don't put too much weight onto the ball so that you know that the abdominals are supporting you. The more you can ground down through the hip and really find that length and stretch through the side waist, the more you're going to open up into the side hip. Next time as you're out there, start to bend the bottom elbow, challenging the triceps and also challenging our obliques and serratus anterior and lats to support us in that side position. Next time you come out into it, we're going to take the rotation, finding that cat stretch, trying to round the spine, really open up across the back of the shoulder blade area. Draw the belly in like you're taking a cat stretch as you're taking these rotation exercises, and then you're going to turn the chest back towards side bend and come back through to seated. We'll remove the ball, coming into our standing series. At this point, again, you can stop and release the practice, or you come into your all fours. Spread the hands, lift the heel of the palm and really feel the shoulders plug into the sockets. And then tucking the toes under, hover the knees off the floor a couple of inches, drawing the belly in and feel the shoulders really nice and broad across the chest. And then hover and keep the belly pulled in. Taking a couple of these, you're then going to extend the hips up towards the sky, lengthening in the spine. Keep the shoulders nice and broad, and then keeping the knees bent if comfortable for the hamstrings. Come into your downward facing dog with nice bent knees to keep the spine long, and think about the sit bones shooting up towards the sky. Option to walk the dog or wiggle the hips, trying to release but finding that long spine, opening across the shoulders without collapsing in the chest or in the shoulders. Then lifting up your right leg towards the sky, keep the hips nice and square. And then bend knee through to nose, round the spine, and then take the leg back up. And on an exhale, draw the knee to the same elbow, and then lift the leg back up. And then draw the knee to opposite elbow, crossing over the torso, hover, and then take the leg back up. And then drawing that knee through to nose, place the foot inside of the right hand and drawing the hips square, come up to a high lunge. If you need to, bend the knee and place it on the floor of the back leg, feel free. Reaching the arms up towards the sky, keeping the hips nice and square. We're going to bend and straighten the front knee, making sure that it tracks over the middle toe. Taking a couple of bend and straightening, just really getting into the quads, and then holding into that high lunge position with the front knee bent. Keep the scissoring of the inner thighs and hips nice and square, and start to turn and open the chest towards that front knee, taking it into a twist. You're going to open the arms out to the side as you take the twist. Really lift through, activate through the back foot, and draw the front hip back towards that back foot. Scissoring the inner thighs as you do so to help you stabilize. And then after the next one, lifting the arms up, turn the back foot down onto the floor at 45 degrees and open the hips out square to the side, shoulders stacked over the hips, and look towards the front hand into a warrior two. Take a nice few deep breaths, softening in the shoulders, relaxing the shoulders. Really think about opening and rotating the thighs away from each other to open into those hips. Make sure the front knee is drawing over that third toe, and then windmill the hands down to the floor. Step that right foot back, come into a high plank, and we're just going to take a couple of little push-ups and then come back to a downward facing dog. Lifting up that left leg, drawing knee to nose for the panther. Inhaling the leg back up to the sky. As you exhale, knee to same elbow. And then inhaling, drawing it back up. And exhaling, knee to opposite elbow. Hovering there for a moment before you take that leg back up. And then on an exhale, draw knee through and place the foot just on the inside of that left hand. Coming up into that high lunge, squaring off those hips, softening in the shoulders. And then making sure that that back foot's nice and active, starting to bend and straighten in the front knee. Keeping those knees, front knee over the third toe as you bend and straighten. Draw back in that front hip and scissor the inner thighs. Keep pressing down through the whole of that front foot, active through the whole of the ball of the foot and the heel, and then start to scissor the inner thighs as you twist and open over that front leg left, opening the arms out to the sides as you twist, drawing the belly in to help you twist and really squeeze around that front leg. And then on the next one, You're going to lift the arms up, drop the back heel down at 45 degrees and come into that warrior two, opening the hips and shoulders out to one side. Thinking about rotating those hips wide and the thighs back towards the space behind you. Draw the front knee back over that third toe so you're pushing into the outside of your left thigh. Breathe and soften the shoulders. And then windmill the arms down to the floor, stepping back into your high plank, taking a couple of push-ups, and then pressing back to your downward facing dog. You can bend the knees and walk the legs forwards towards the front of your mat, or hop the feet, and then roll up to stand. Take a moment in mountain, standing, feel the feet rooted into the ground and the hands in the centre of the chest, drawing you into a centering position before you take the weight into that left leg. Lift the right leg up, just holding it in towards the chest, either keeping it there or you can open it out to the side and then bring it back to the centre, but really feeling that centered grounding through the left leg as you then hinge in the hips. Press that right foot back as though you're standing on the right leg and come into a warrior three. Hands can be heart centered or reaching out in front of you, but squaring the hips. Start to open the hips out to the side if you can, coming into a half moon pose, reaching the arms wide. Otherwise, staying in your warrior three if the balance isn't there today. And then rotate back to warrior three, draw the knee through, hinging at the hips, come back to that standing balance with just one leg lifted, and then reset, coming back to mountain pose. When you're ready, bending that left leg and standing on the right, and you can play with opening the knee at the hip or not. And when you're ready, hinging at the hips, pressing the left leg back, coming into warrior three. Keep the hips nice and square and the shoulders square towards the floor. And then if the balance feels comfortable, opening those hips out to the side, allowing the chest to open towards the side and the arms to maybe reach, finding a half moon pose. And then returning back to that warrior three, squaring the hips back down towards the earth and the shoulders, bending the knee in as you hinge at the hips and draw yourself back up to balancing on that right leg. Return the leg down to the floor, find your mountain pose, feel the feet rooted into the earth. Inhale, reach the arms up, and as you exhale, forward fold. Let the head and the arms relax, maybe take opposite elbow with opposite hand and just let the head and the shoulders gently swing. You can bend in the knees and soften in the chest. Find any little release of any tension hanging around. When you're ready, exhale, press through the feet and roll back up to standing. Find your mountain pose. And take a nice exhale. Be ready for your day. Namaste.